How you doing, folks? This is your Fatec Dundee United at Tannadice preview pod coming to you. That's too on the money, isn't it? It's too kind of boring. I'm missing stuff out. So, start again. How you doing, folks? This is your Fatec. Rangers are playing Dundee United at Tannadice tomorrow. Although if you're seeing this tomorrow, it'll be tonight. Preview pod coming. That's brutal. It's stuttering and stammering. Just running out of time here, Alex. It's going to be kick-off time, so you need to get the pod out tonight so folk can see it before they go to their bed. Right, okay, come on. Start again. Hi, folks. Welcome to your Fatec Dundee United at Tannadice against Rangers preview pod coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering and Willow Fencing. And that's Gijon-ae. And the Rangers Review sponsorship, you can't even. It's bad, isn't it? It's bad. See when you just you think you're going to get there. The thing you're watching looks it's going to get there. It's going to proceed. It's going to get to that point you want to get, and it just keeps checking back. That's a metaphor I'm doing there for Rangers against Falkirk and no, okay. Emmy Fernandez, big Emmy Fernandez. He was saying he doesn't look into the outside noise too much. That's you he's talking about. It's not me. I'm not saying anything about him. I know. Do you want to tell him that he shouldn't say look into the outside noise? He's saying he doesn't listen to the outside noise. He looks into it. I'm not telling him. You no. I ended up, I lost my hat on Sunday. I didn't lose my. I forgot. I didn't have time to pick it up on the way out the door, or I did. Something distracted me. I got a text. Some folk want me use me as like a taxi service and stuff like that. Just outside life interfering with the fit, but really it's a pain in the neck. So anyway, distracted me, didn't get my hat and I get to Ibrox. The time I got there, I hadn't the chance because of this stuff that was happening before I left the house. Just before I left the house on Sunday to go to the game, I didn't have a chance to look at the team lineup. So I get into the ground, of course you're talking to folk now, you're saying hello to folk, a bit of chat when you first get to your seat. So I didn't know what the team was. So the team come down the tunnel, Rangers come down the tunnel into the park. I'm looking straight away to see it, and it's like the first thing they're saying is, well, Fernandez is playing. He's still playing because he's a different scale to everybody else. He's a different size to every other player. There's not a bit of fat on him, but it's like I used to go to some Wayne's Fishes and they'd have the Airfix soldiers, but they did that thing where they'd mix up the 00HO scale ones and the 1 to 32 scale ones. In fact, they're probably the kind of person who called them wee soldiers and big soldiers. Airfix, and it's the same. They were doing the same stuff. The soldiers were in the same pose. Whether if it was both Airfix, the wee ones and the big ones, we'd be doing the same stuff. They'd be the same colour. I don't know how they did that because it's two different sizes of cast. They must have poured the molten plastic into it. That's what I'll be looking at tonight. I'm going to search YouTube for that. It's meant to be a documentary on how they made the wee soldiers and the big soldiers Airfix, because they were doing the same thing, weren't they? The same poses. The Russian infantry, you'd have their PPSH submachine guns, look like the Tommy guns you get because they've got the drum barrel magazine. They look like the Tommy guns, the Thompson submachine guns in the gangster films. I liked all that, but. They would do this. They're the guys that run along and they've got long coats on and they're holding the machine guns like that. I'm trying to remember all the poses. The commandos were the best, the British command. Anyway, you would go to kids' houses and they would say, "I'll just pit my army against your army," and they would have big ones and wee ones. And I'm like, what is this all about? But that's what Emmy Fernandez looks like because he's so big. He's the same as he's wearing the same shirt and the same socks. He's a Rangers player, but there's no bit of fat on him. It's just a different scale. Altogether, he's our 1 to 32 scale centre half. A brilliant interview from that very impressive young man today. He was put forward for the pre-match presser. I'm talking to you on Tuesday night trips. Obviously, I'm so used to Wednesday night being the night before they get the Thursday night Europa League and all that. But no, it's Wednesday night league stuff. But. It was. What was he saying? It was a great quote. I've been set back so many times in my career. I don't feel anything can set me back again. I feel like I'll just keep going, keep fighting, and I'll just show the world what I can do. Emmy Fernandez, what an absolute gentleman and a leader. He said he was a leader at Peterborough, even though he was obviously even younger then. When you go back in time, folk do tend to get younger. He was a younger man at Peterborough, but he was a leader because it was quite a young team, and he's impressive. So it's not a case of everybody that he signed in the summer has been an absolute disaster. He's definitely coming onto a game. As Fernandez got a couple of goals under his belt already. It's just, what did we get Rafi a basket? Right, guys, I don't think we need to get them on the park at Auchenhowie and do training sessions and stuff like that and start to give them different kind of attacking drills. It just seemed more like they need to just tune into their imagination, right? Guys, just get them inside, because it's cold weather these days. Get the players inside into the big, see them interviewing on Sky Sports, they interview the manager or certain players, and they've got them in the big indoor pitch. We'll get them inside and just get them at wee desks. We just go to the canteen area and get that woman. That woman used to come to school. Get her primary school. Get her to come in. Okay, guys. This is called raffia. Different colours. You can make multi cut, but let's see if you can weave it in together. You can make a wee basket. Take home to your mum. You get little coasters. You can make little coasters out of it as well. It's as many colours as you like. See if you can weave it all in together. What do you want to make from it? Just make them thick. Just get creative. Imagine a lot of found materials. No, do you want to? We're going to go outside. We're going to go into the pitches. Right, I want you to take your bit of card there. And then think you're going to do a wee landscape, but we're going to use the landscape, the actual landscape, to help you with your not cardboard, Nico. Put down the box. It's no cardboard. It's just cards, the kind of paper. No, but paper's too thick. That bit of A3 card, Nico. You just do what you're told. The rest of you get that. Okay, yeah, we're going to go outside and we're going to get not the dog jobby. That's not going on the card. I don't mean that. I mean like plants, twigs, little stones, things that will hold on. Yeah, you do glue it on. Just use your imagination. That's what I'm trying to tap into. What we'll do, we'll get the newspaper. We'll get news. No, not the Sun. Don't ever bring the Sun into. We're going to get one of the newspapers. We're going to cut it up. Just cut up one of these articles, even just the headlines, not the big words. Just cut it into individual words, and then we're going to put them in a big bowl, and we're going to mix them all up, and then we're going to pour it all out onto a desk. And then you can just pick any words at random and put it onto your bit of paper there and see if we're going to make a kind of found word poem, That's going to be quite interesting. No, nothing to do with Tintin, Nico. It's not a story about Tintin. No, it's just to do with poetry, just to get your imagination going. And if you could just return the Stanley knife, so I'm going to need that tonight because my boyfriend's coming around tonight just for a wee meal. I know what he's been up to. And this meal's going to really put him to sleep. And when he wakes up, I'll get my chance to say what I think. If he thinks he's just going to come around and have a bit of fun, then leave and tell me what he's going to move in with her. That's good. That's me using my mind. What I'm doing there, it's stuff that's something that actually happened as a lecture I was at, and she was absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to say what she was lecturing on because it will give you a specific. But a few weeks later, she was in the Herald, having done that to her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was going to leave her, and she drugged his dinner and tied him up and had a word. I had a word with him that he won't forget. So she was up in court and all that. And to be honest, all of us that had been at the lecture, it didn't make us think any. It made us think more of her. She was quite right. Guys are like that. But that's what I've done. Is I've taken a real story, and I've kind of stuff that's actually happened, and I've added my imagination. I've got creative. It might still be as more boring as far as you're concerned than the 0-0 draw with Falkirk on Sunday. But that's what the players have got to do. Just not asking me to pluck stuff out of thin air. Just get a bit more creative, get a bit more imaginative. Hey, folks, this is your fat egg. If we'd got them, Dundee Hibernian, in the early rounds of this season's League Cup instead of Edinburgh Hibernian, then this would be us playing them under our third different head coach of the season. But as it is, we've yet to play any domestic opponent twice this season with the same head coach in charge of Rangers, and it's actually December. Preview pod coming to you in association with Gijon-ae. Check out Gijon-ae. Sunday night it was Ben and it was Craig, and I've not had a chance to watch it yet, but fair play to the boys for getting stuck in about trying to find something to discuss. And that draw with Falkirk on Sunday, they were analysing that. But still up there on the Gijon-ae YouTube channel. I'm sponsored by Gijon-ae, and I'm also sponsored by hats and gloves. This kind of revolutionary modern invention, hats and gloves. Apparently, you might have noticed I was basically freezing to death in front of you in my post-match reaction pod. This is merged now with my snagging list. My post-match reaction pod on Sunday there after the 0-0 with Falkirk outside Ibrox. It's kind of like you get iPhones, you get the wheel and stuff like that, and you get hats and gloves. Almost kind of 50 years. I've been nearly 49 years in April. I've been going to the football, and I still haven't learned my lesson. No, it's not really that, because when it comes to going to the actual fit by itself. I told you that I had to rush out the house on Sunday. I wasn't rushing out the house. It was just before I left the house. I got this text. That sounds dramatic, but it was just this. I mean, it was just family stuff and that, and it was all about, folk that were arriving in trains and at certain times, and it was, you're going to pick them up, and I'm going to pick them. It was all that kind of stuff, and it was just like, and it just threw me. It just threw me at the very point I'm standing under my hat stand. I've got a hat. It's not really, it's just a kind of a railing thing above where the jackets hang up, just in the pokey wee bit at the window at the front door. And I've got, on top of that, I've got my Bayern Munich hat. You might have seen that made an appearance. That's the thing, my preview pod for the Falkirk game, I'm actually showing you a bonnet that I wear when I'm out walking, a Bayern Munich one. It's up there, my Manky Bayern Munich one. I've got one for the SFA, when I'm paying my dues for the Scotland Supporters Club to get priority for tickets at Hampden for Scotland games at Hampden. I mean, to get priority for any kind of Scotland games, but I only go to home games. And at one point they sent me it's like my jersey for the Scotland team. They sent me a Scotland hat. It's quite smart, got the SFA badge in front of it, but it's so wee, it's so kind of standard size that when I put it, I can't get it over my head. It just feels like it's actually wrapped around my brain, inside my skull. It's so tight, so I can't really wear that. But I've got that up there, and I've got obviously my Harland and Wolff Welder's brilliant bonnet, the warmest of the lot of them. It's an absolute classic. I completely forgot that, despite Gaz gave me the advice as well. It's not even Finlay who bought me the thing, who got me it as a gift. Gaz said to me, better get your Harland and Wolff Welder's hat on, or it's going to be freezing. I just lost my concentration, Gaz. Anyway, I'm up there. What else have I got up there? I've got an actual Rangers bonnet I'm going to have to wear because, we've just drawn Annan in the Scottish Cup, and they wear kind of gold and black, so it's the same colours as Harland and Wolff. So that's my nightmare, is getting knocked down by an ambulance, killed by getting. That's such a joke. You get knocked down by an ambulance, and getting beaten up by Rangers fans. That's getting done in Daniel Derek Vineyard in American History X, he's a neo-Nazi, and he goes and he ends up, no comparing us to neo-Nazis obviously, but he's at the end he's saying to the guy, you're going to get me beaten up by a bunch of white guys, going to get me killed by a bunch of white guys. It just always makes me think of, I'm going to get done in by Rangers supporters, you don't even your pals hate you. So I've got, I have a Rangers hat, but it's black, because I've told you before, I don't really like wearing colours, so it's black. And it just says Rangers across the wee kind of brow bit, and it's got the scroll crest in the back, but sometimes I switch it around so the scroll crest to be RFCs on the front. I quite like that, but it's quite thin. It doesn't keep my heat. So I've got all the hats there. I've got a whole supply of hats, and the gloves, I don't have gloves. I just don't have gloves at all, but it's because when it comes to going to the actual fit, but it's quite busy where I am in the main stand. You've got all the body heat, generally since Graham Souness arrived, it's been busy enough at Ibrox. You'll get body heat for the most part. Until 10 minutes to go, the subway lawyer will leave, and that's it. Gets a bit cold, but also I'm so kind of this globally warmed. The summers that we're getting the past few years, I hate the heat so much that I actually quite like it. I quite like being a bit cold, It's a really long born story, Alex. So imagination, artistry. Come on, we might get inspiring here. So I actually quite like it. It's the podding that I forgot. I've only done the podding for 4 years or whatever, only 2 years kind of doing it on my own outside. So that's what's taken me a while to work out. When it gets to winter, you're going to be standing outside for a while talking. Make sure you got the hat. I've had this hoodie on, that's it, but make sure you got the hat, and maybe time to get some gloves as well. Difficult to operate the equipment, but that's probably going to, folk will be happy to hear that. Maybe it'd put me off, but no, here I am again. So the snagging. My name's Alec Anderson. Where love lives, where love lies, going down, wait and see what and June, down. Waiting down where the love lives, the love lives, the love lives. I got on you. When somebody new, it's down. Oh, where the love lives, the love lives. I don't actually know the words to that, but it's an earworm, and it's a nice earworm. It's not like, it doesn't matter how many times I go to the opera. I've been 5 times in my life. It doesn't matter how many times I go to, let's see, a symphony or something. I go to a classical recital. I think that's about twice that's happened. Doesn't matter how many times I do that kind of stuff. still, like, somebody puts on a crap tune like Stockake and Waterman, any kind of pain in the arse, kind of earworm type tune, that's what's in there. I'm never walking about kind of humming. He tries desperately to think it's on Nessun Dorma or Furtiva Lagrima or something like that, Eluce Van Listelia. I'm no what about humming that kind of stuff. It's always the last shit catchy jingle type song that I've heard, and there's a lot of them now being used on adverts, and it's Christmas, and it's a John Lewis advert, but I actually don't think that's a good tune. That's how it works, because it's actually the dad. I'm probably old enough to be the dad of the dad, the granddad of the boy in the advert. There's a one with the mother and the daughter as well, but John Lewis / Waitrose got a few adverts going, some of them absolutely appalling, and that one's quite good, because it's a good tune, because it's my era, it's an era that I can associate with. It's a really good tune. And it's two white men of fighting age. No, sorry, don't say that about white guys. It's no white guys aren't of fighting age. Even though they are, but it's a good masculinity and stuff like that, and tenderness, and how we go to talk to each other, whatever way we can communicate. It's a really nice thing. But sometimes imagination is not. I don't know the words. I don't know the words to that song. I'd like Davey's song at the start of the pod, but that's a song that's in my head, and it's an era one I don't mind having, because it's very tuneful. It's a great tune, but I don't know the words to it. I don't know well enough, and sometimes imagination is not enough. Sometimes you need the information. To use imaginatively. That's going to help her attack. That's going to help us score more goals in it. So I'm trying to bring you the information here. But the snagging list from the Sunday's post-match reaction pod, in which I was basically getting hypothermia in front of your eyes, and it was freezing my brain. The shape charge indicates they are technically proficient. That's the line from Heat, ironically, that I couldn't get. Heat, perversely. The film Heat, while I was freezing to death, I couldn't get one of them. Just the most quotable lines I've just say all the time. That is a lyric that I do know, and it's like an album, Heat. And I couldn't get the shape charge indicates they are technically proficient. That's the quote. If you were appalled, if you hadn't switched off by that point, getting that. I was also saying Danny Röhl had dropped his first SPFL Premiership points in 7 games. It wasn't he? It's 5 games. That was his 5th SPFL Premiership game. Sunday versus Falkirk was his 5th league game in charge, rather than his 7th, as I said in that pod on Sunday. It was Russell Martin who was in charge for 7 SPFL Premiership games this season. That was a stat I was going to commit with in the game, but it just never happened. My brain literally froze. 7 SPFL Premiership games this season, from which he gleaned. I know I've just said it pissed me off. I've just said literally. I've done the classic thing. My brain didn't literally freeze, but it must have got colder. It's a misuse of the word. Literally, it was Russell Martin who was in charge for 7 SPFL Premiership games this season, from which Russell Martin gleaned 8 points total. Danny Röhl had beaten that tally by his 3rd SPFL Premiership game in charge. Sunday was his 13th point, Danny Röhl's, from 5 SPFL Premiership games in charge. So you could even shove in the point that Stevie caretaker Gaffer Smith gained when we last played Dundee United, and Danny Röhl has accumulated 4 more points in the league in 5 games than we accumulated in the previous 8 league games this season. He got his 13th point in our 13th Premiership game. So let up on the Danny Röhl slagging. There's a bit of Danny Röhl slagging coming in. Also, snagging items, and I don't mind people getting the deeper references. I do put deep references in it, but there'll be Easter eggs and all that kind of nonsense. It's just a bit of fun. Try and get I'm not going to talk about structure because that's me ripping off somebody else. But I was mentioning the pod on Sunday. I was being kind of snooty deliberately about when I talked about Jackie Wilson Says, the Dixie's Midnight Runner song, and I was really pleased that it showed that it's classy folk that watch this podcast, because nobody had got in touch to do the kind of painfully obvious, just repeated to death anecdote about actually Dixie's Midnight Runners. When they did Jackie Wilson Said on Top of the Pops, the set design on Top of the Pops put up pictures of Jockey Wilson, because they misheard the name of the song. And I was saying, that's good that nobody said that kind of thing. But I do actually, don't let that put you off. Tell me that you get the references, because when I did the coat of many colours thing, I was doing the bit with Dolly Parton, and I was wearing the thing that was like many colours, and I like your coat of many colours. It just made me feel, well, the scarf itself did make me feel warm and great, but it made me feel great that folk were getting it. They know what I'm doing here, so it was really nice. And sometimes you guys get so much faith in me that you actually think I'm being deeper than I really am. Oh, I see you get Supertramp album up in the background there, Alec. And it's raining again. That's the one that's featured song. It's raining again. So like Celtic have won the league, they're raining again because they keep winning the league. But they're a bunch of super tramps. Nice band, big man. Nice one. So I wouldn't say that about folk. That's no nice. But thanks for thinking I'd got. I mean, and the guy that played bass. It's actually a studio session bassist. The guy who regularly played bass on, he wasn't in. He didn't actually in the recording of that album. He was ill, so he couldn't take part. So they go to the session guy, and it turned out that session guy is actually from Alloa, and that's who we played in our one domestic cup game so far against lower league opposition this season. And now we've got Annan, and they play in black and yellow as well. So that's why you're wearing the Harland and Wolf. Sometimes you go too far. I'm not that clever. I'm not that deep. It's not that. But it's nice. It makes me feel. So please don't let my kind of performative snobbery put you off telling me the references that you're getting. So against Falkirk, I think I was having an audible breakdown in the last 15 minutes of my pod, but Rangers looked like having a wee bit of a breakdown on the park. Danny Röhl changed his entire front four. It didn't work. It's only the third time we've failed to score in a league game this season, but the other two times were against the top two. The top two teams, including the league champions. That was no disgrace. That's no bad. But he kept his entire back four, goalie and sitting midfield two from the Braga game, and that did work. He managed to keep only our second home clean sheet in the league this season. And the other under Russell Martin was against Brendan Rodgers' Celtic, an absolute car crash of a team. So that wasn't a big deal. But he picks a team though, Alex. It's got to be his fault that they failed to score. Yeah, but he had to rotate it. I think he had to rotate the team after that really tough game on Thursday, and he had to take the chance of rotating the team in a game against Falkirk. No disrespect to Falkirk, and they're having a great season, and they're right behind us in the league. Before we played them, they still are. Before we played them on Sunday, but you've got a home game against a team that's below you in the league. And you've got a couple of tough away games coming up. If you're going to rotate the squad, if you're going to rest a lot of front players, change the whole front four, that would be the time you have to do it. He's going to have to take these chances. In his 5 league games in charge, we've kept 3 clean sheets, and 3 of the 4 clean sheets we've kept this season are down to Danny Röhl in the league. In his 3 European games in charge, Danny Röhl's conceded 3 goals in the first one, then 2 goals in the second one, then 1 goal on Thursday against Braga. So get your money in a 0-0 in Budapest a week on Thursday. Danny Röhl has conceded as many league goals in his 5 2025-2026 Premiership games in charge as Stevie Smith conceded in his only 2025-2026 SPFL Premiership game in charge. And this includes Danny Röhl losing the services of our 2 first-choice centre-halves. So let up on the Danny Röhl slagging. But having said that, I've got to be honest, Giga's kind of dilly-dallying after Jack Butland's failed clearance in the second half. I was watching the sports scene highlights of the game and bits that I couldn't quite remember properly, as my brain was literally freezing after that game. And Sunday, it was all coming back to me. I was watching the sports scene highlights last night, painful as they were. But Giga's kind of dilly-dallying after Jack Butland. Giga, I think it is a foul, the Falkirk, but he's got no idea the Falkirk player's coming in to give him. And Asgard, so busy moaning at the referee. I remember moaning about this myself at the game. He falls on the deck, Asgard, as contact, but he's so busy moaning at the ref. He lets Falkirk take a quick free kick. It's deep in our half. It's just outside our box, really. And this is as per Celtic's disallowed goal in the early stages of the League Cup semi-final. At Hampden, we're just all standing about while the ball's dead, and they just take the quick free kick. It's suicidal. That sums up the kind of concept, the image, the stereotype that's growing. That so many of these players just don't get it. Some in this Rangers team just don't get it. They look down their nose at the notion of kind of being on it. It's like they've come to Rangers to cruise. Don't we all? Some fine talent dotting about the concourses at Ibrox Cottage and whatever, but it's like they've come. I'll go to Rangers and it'll be easy in Scotland. I'll just kind of cruise, I'll just mince about. No have to put any effort in. I don't think that's actually true, but sharpness and focus aren't the only requirements to win the title. A lack of these qualities will absolutely cost you the title, and I don't blame anybody for being a bit upset by the that was defensive stuff. I think still the main takeaway from Sunday is a kind of artistic abyss in terms of attacking players, a creative desert. In terms of imagination, it's a vapid, kind of arid, grey, stony wasteland. But we don't want to go over the top about it, Alec, do we? Oliver Antman's terrible back post header. I know we've just found out that Oliver Antman is out for 8 weeks injured, but he's not going to be missed because he's done nothing apart from that. His very first game against Polzenia at home, he's done nothing since then. And when the ball comes to him at the back post, it's not. I mean, there's Falkirk players there. It's a busy box, 6-yard box. But when I saw the replay on Sports Scene highlights, I think he shuts his eyes. It's not even he's no risking getting his head injured or anything like that. I don't think there's anybody that close to him either. It's just a terrible lack of technical ability. He heads the ball like straight. Like the goals are over there. He's about 3-4 yards from the back post over towards the back of the 6-yard box. But he heads the ball straight out. Should I even just try to head it back across goal or something like that, or even heading it back into the deeper part of the box for MD coming onto it? It was stuff like that. Bajrami played like a talented player who's not been getting a game all season, and he was head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of attacking threat. We, as a support, I think at Rangers, basically we are, me for most of my teenage years, the vast majority of my teenage years, not as bored and frustrated by the fact we can't penetrate, as we are blissfully ignorant of just how lucky we are not to be getting penetrated. There's worse things than boredom and frustration. Russell Martin's draw with Falkirk in early October in the league left us 8th in the SPFL Premiership, so he resigned, or he gets sacked. Danny Rowe's draw with Falkirk left us 4th, so that's twice as good. That's twice as good. 4th in the Premiership now. And he's only been here for barely a couple of months. So let up on the Danny Rowe slagging. No, wait, let's not bother. Let's not bother waiting up on the Danny Rowe slagging, holding up in the Danny Rowe slagging. I'm going to stick up for him. I'm tired of sticking up for a failing head coach. That's been the theme of my season. And of course, sticking up for a failing head coach at Rangers means that you're not making flags and banners with his face kind of crossed out in red, and you're not singing head coach get to fucking, and generally just being hopeful and patient that Rangers will get there eventually. That's you sticking up for failure. That's you being part of the problem. So maybe I should just go kind of pure mainstream with the pod just now and attempt to claw back thousands of listeners that I'm losing. Maybe I should just start saying this is all down to Danny Rowe. Get him to Germany. Just get him gone. Get out, Rowe. That was down to you from the moment of his very first, definitely poor result. That was his first definitely poor result, drawing 0-0 with Falkirk on Sunday there. So that's it. Just get straight in there. Don't make the same mistake you made with Thelwell and Stewart and everybody else that you've given more than 2 minutes to succeed. I can feel myself starting to say, for example, in his first season at Sheffield Wednesday, Danny, he worked a miracle to avoid the drop when he inherited a shit show there as well, Danny Röhl. It wasn't all straight wins, and in his second season with the second smallest budget in the EFL Championship. And I've heard this from Sheffield Wednesday fans. We heard this at the time when we were hearing all these podcasts about Daniel, how good he was. Well, so he's got a bigger budget. And I'm like, no, don't. No, I'm just like, no. I did all this with Russell Martin. This whole thing of transposing the kind of trials and tribulations of English Football League Championship management onto the completely different situation at Rangers. How it's going to lead to success. You're going to require a bit of patience. There's so many podcasters of English Football League Championship teams who can say this manager's a great guy, this head coach is a great guy, and we should be. But I can't be bothered doing that anymore. I can't be asked doing that again. Sod encouraging Rangers to do their best in the last month before the transfer window opens again, despite sacking everyone responsible for our mayor in the last transfer window. Let's just harass and abuse Rangers back to the league title. If the insults and abuse don't actually help secure the title, you'll be okay, because you've only harassed and abused a Rangers team that hasn't won the title. And we hate them, don't we? We hate Rangers teams that don't win the title. We hate them more than we hate Celtic, possibly. And on that subject, well done, the under-19s. That was nice. Good result last night for the under-19s. Last night being Monday nights. Bailey Rice apparently is going to leave for free. He's going to go to Aston Villa or somewhere like that, somewhere big down in England, which suddenly makes us all want to have him in the first team and want to start slagging our player trading model again. Whatever. It's hardly a Billy Gilmour kind of situation. Because apart from anything else, Bailey Rice has been given chances in the first team. I've seen very little from him to make me think, oh, that's this boy's. He's definitely a talented player, and he's big. He's big for his age. I watched him playing for the youth team in that the youth Europa Youth League, or was it under 18s level, whatever that was, when we were in the Champions League against Ajax, Napoli, and Liverpool's youth teams, and he was good. I think he sent off as well, but he was decent, but didn't really stand out there. I saw him playing against Gretna 2008 at Dumbarton in the Lowland League, and he was a big unit. He could cope with the physical stuff, but he wasn't. He did well, but you weren't seeing stuff that was making you go, my God, get that young boy in the first team. So I'm not going to get too bothered about that one. But if I'm going to protest about, if I'm going to get really worked up about anything that Rangers fan do, I can't be bothered with the flags and the stuff about the manager, the head coach. I can't be bothered with that kind of stuff either way. I'm not going to be against him. I'm not going to come out and staunchly defend him and preach patience and all that. Despite the fact that's what Andrew Kavanagh said in his statement to Sky the day we sacked Thelwell and Stewart, that you can't go in there straight away. Responsible change requires a bit of patience. You can't go in there and just sack everybody in sight because you're going to make mistakes. No, but if I'm going to protest about anything, it's going to be stuff that truly worries me and properly upsets me, because no one's likely to do anything about it, and I think it's properly long-term damaging. I'm going to get seriously worked on, active. I'm going to get militant about our current home shirt. The state of our current home, it's absolutely awful. So it's a terrible top. And I'm quite upset about this kind of feasibility study about Ibrox that was a bit kind of smoke and mirrors. Just after the sacking of Thelwell and Stewart, they put out this really nebulous thing about, we're looking into what we can do with Ibrox, and this is something that the 49ers promised when they first took over 49ers Enterprises. But the thing about capacity was just a general kind of passing, really, as I say, nebulous statement about we'll look at capacity, increasing it. They didn't even say they're going to increase it. I saw a rumour that it was going to be going up by 4,000, which is miserable. But they would spend as much time in a stupid statement talking about, getting, snack bars and bars in the place and places for fans to gather and stuff. I want to know, we're going up to 64,000 or 72,000. I want the Ibrox capacity up to 64,000 or 72,000 now. No, sorry, Johnny. No, sorry, Derek. I'm just going to let me speak, Blair. Going to let me speak. I'm trying to make a point. This is something I feel that the Rangers support. Listen, you get me on as a colour commentator, that obviously doesn't work for the Herald, the guy who's an actual genuine Rangers fan, because I say really stupid stuff, really over emotionally. Well, I am going to, you're trying to make out that you hate Danny Röhl and you're disgusted by what you saw the other day, and you're being, but it doesn't suit you. It doesn't come across as true. You're too objective, generally, in your work, so you can obviously see that it's all performative. No, I am going to, I think it's a disgrace that our capacity remains at less than half of the record Ibrox crowd in the same stadium. It was the same footprint, really, the same bit we were in. I know we've changed the shape of the stands and all that since we first opened Ibrox like 48 hours before the end of the 19th century. But it's, we had 118,567 in there in January 1939, whatever, and we've not even got 51,000 or something like that, 700. That's an absolute nightmare. And we beat Celtic in that game, and that was a great start to 1939, which of course turned into a great year. And as the banner I hung from the Archibald Leach balcony on Sunday, looking over towards the, what was it, the Miller Partnership? Was it Miller Partnership that did the 3 goalpost stands? And it was hanging below the Gareth Hutchison did the club deck hanging below there. Is that banner that I hung up on Sunday said, "Dear 49ers, make Ibrox huge again." This is our legacy. This is their legacy. The 49ers, Marathi and Kavanagh are going to leave. They're going to sell us. And the only way we're guaranteed any kind of legacy is if they expand the capacity at Ibrox so we can get as much season ticket money as Celtic, 9,000 season tickets ahead of us at the start of every season. This is our legacy, and this is about my children, Josh. This is about my children, my grandchildren. I don't have any children, but there's a lot of folk that are going really well with Ibrox, and they've probably got Waynes as well. I don't really have any Waynes, but several small kind of Asian children did spend hours in a sweatshop in Asia stitching together the banner that I'm going to hang up over the Archibald Leach balcony before and during at half time of the Hibs game. It's a week on Monday at Ibrox, and it's a top. There's nobody in the kit. It's just the top, the home top that we've got this season, the Unibet and all that on it, and it's just I've got crosshairs. I've got crosshairs focused on that collar, that cheap as chips, tacky, horrible, careless looking. It's not even retro. It's just old and cheap. That V of white and then the floppy collar thing, and it's absolutely garbage. It's the worst kit I've ever seen, Josh, whatever. Jonathan Hunter-Barrett, the chap from Wolves, that was going to come in and be our head of academy in January. He's no longer going to be our head. What changed his mind? What happened there? Neither party seems particularly bothered about it. So what happened that Jonathan Hunter-Barrett of Wolves, where Kevin Thelwell used to work, is not now joining us as was planned a few weeks ago. We're going to go deep on that, aren't we? Thelwell was wrong, and everything he touched unsupervised is now deemed unsafe. So Kavanagh and Marathi are really going after it. It's like you've cut off the kind of leaves of the weed that's at the top of your driveway or whatever, but you're going after the roots now to see how much damage has been caused under the paving. There's going to be a January clear out of the squad. Same thing's happened with the squad. Thelwell just can't be trusted, and it's also his infrastructural appointments, if you like. It's going to be quite interesting watching how many other people leave the club, not just in terms of the playing staff, but directors, executives, stuff like that. People who are brought in by Stewart and Thelwell, and this is obviously the start of Kavanagh and Marathi. So you can't. They're clearing it all out. There's a mistake being made there. They gave the club time. The people that were in possession, they gave them time to prove themselves, and they really haven't proved themselves suitable at all. That's a good thing. We're going to be okay. Richard Gough, he said something to the media about our lack of whatever on Sunday. And I think, did he talk about something about an intervention? I was really paying attention to an intervention, or maybe somebody, ex-players like himself, probably should get in there and get the players told to their faces what it's all about to be a Rangers player, what's required in this league and stuff like that. And he just wants a game. Richard Gough, he just wants a game. He wants to get the shirt on and play again because he's an absolute competitor of the highest order. Richard Gough is a flipping legend. There's already enough voices in the dressing room in the back. The players are clearly just trying to take on so much on board as well. Their new environment, and then that environment is changing massively while they're there. That's obviously what's costing them creatively, I think, in front of goal. But you've already done your job, Richard. You've already done it. You have made an intervention by talking to the media, and the media listens, and everybody at Rangers listens to what you have to say. We're getting the message because you walk the walk, and you're an absolute legend of the game. I saw Richard Gough. What was it? We beat Berwick, Rangers 1-0. Was it Fraser Aird scored the goal? It was trophy lifting day in the 3rd division, I'm sure. And it was live on the telly, so it was a Saturday lunchtime kickoff. And I remember at the end of that game, it's one I'm going to hang around for the trophy presentation, but it's nice, but you're hanging around at the end, and I remember somebody walking across the park in a suit, and people down the prescription I had for the specs then was spot on. People down the enclosure that are applauding, and he's applauding us applause, and he's kind of responding by applauding back. And I'm thinking, who's that? Is that? And I could see that the suit was hanging on this person. I thought it was somebody like in their 60s. The suit was hanging on them, so kind of loose. I mean, they seemed slightly bowed. Kind of stooped almost as they walked across the park. Maybe it's somebody that's been ill or something like that. It's an old player that I can't quite place them or something. And it turned out it was Richard Gough, and he'd been doing the punditry. He was part of I don't know who was doing the live coverage, Sky or whatever. He was part of their team. He'd been in the little gantry, the temporary gantry, the commentary box that they erect at the end of the east enclosure. And this was him walking. I think he was going to doing some pitchside interviews, and he was going to get involved, or he was going to congratulate the players, Lee Wallace, whatever like that. he's walking across the park anyway, and it's just only when I got home and I was like, that's Richard Gough, it's because he's so ripped. And even by that point, this is what, 2013, he's too ripped for his age. Remember, like remember my mum talking about, well, a few years before this, but she was up in, he definitely had retired for the playing, Richard Gough. She was up Duck Bay Marina with one of her pals or something, a wee day out in the summer, and she saw Richard Gough getting into it was like a boat. They were going for a wee walk, and it was Richard, and folk were saying hello to him and all that, and getting to sign autographs. So that's how she realised, she's like, oh, my boy loves the football. She didn't go to talk, she was just, and she was watching. She was watching all right, because she would tell me how, as he got in the boat, it was the middle of summer, he took his top off, and he just kind of paused, and I'm thinking, oh, Mum, I don't want it. You know what I mean? I don't. Of course, I'm kind of read it. My dad's read. I'm not trying to say Richard Gough. I'm older than Richard Gough, I think, but just that's what she goes for, a bit of kind of, maybe a bit of red head. And this was, she just paused in a way that made me, I don't want it, Mum. Come on, but aye, fair dues, because he was ripped. He's absolutely ripped, and that's the thing with Richard Gough. He's just so competitive as a player. He just wants to play. He probably could still do a job for us as well. But advice received, Richard. That'll do it. These guys they should make them watch videos 9 in a row and all that as well. They should do that kind of stuff. But we got Annan at home in the Scottish Cup. That's going to be January the 7th, the weekend of Saturday, January 17th. God knows at what point. With Annan away in the Scottish Cup, different round. I think it's a later round. The last time we won the Scottish Cup, and the last time we got to a European final, it was under Gio 2021-2022 season. We'd Annan in the Scottish Cup. So that's a nice kind of superstitious type of thing. But a chance to beat two of our records of this season simultaneously. Our lowest home crowd this season is the 33,949 we got against Alloa in the League Cup last 16. They were riding high in League One at that time. Alloa still up there in the promotion spots, and it was a beautiful Saturday afternoon / evening in August, I think. And this is a team third bottom of League Two on a miserable January Saturday. It's probably going to be like 2 a.m. Sunday before East Kilbride or whoever they're playing in the Scottish Cup, and after some bantamweight boxing from Ali Pali has been on Premier Sports, there'll be an awful kick-off time. So that's probably a chance for a new low home crowd this season, unless we're signing like Harry Kane and getting Eberici Eze on loan in January, and people will be taking advantage of the chance to get to Ibrox to watch them. But I think it could be a record low crowd, and we also haven't beaten anybody by more than 3-0 this season. Our two record wins this season are 3-0 at home to Pilsenia, 3-0 away to Dundee. That was Ibrox, Pilsenia Ibrox. That was Dundee. That's Dens Park up there. You got to game the morning night. You got to Tannadice. That's you there, just direction. That's you just up there. Just across the road. But that cancelled out. Obviously, our 2-3-0 wins has carried out our biggest loss of the season, the 6-0. In Bruges, but we've got another chance. We're going to play Annan. They're struggling to stay in the league as such, so a chance to record a bigger score than 3-0, probably for the first time in the season. Although the last time we met Annan in the Scottish Cup, we're 3-0 up at half time, and it stayed that way into the end. And we rarely go beyond 3 goals in our first Scottish Cup game. The early Scottish Cup games against Minnows, Stirling Albion, we lost Hadji to an injury. Was that 3-0 or 3-1 or something like that? Was it Queen of the South? And never really. And when we do, it's bad news. Because in 55 season, 2020-2021 season, our first Scottish Cup game was at home to Cove Rangers. We beat them 4-0. Which was quite impressive for what we usually do in the Scottish Cup, the first game in the Scottish Cup. And the next round we did beat Celtic. We pit Celtic out in the next round, but then we had an absolute car crash and we lost in penalties to St Johnstone at home in the quarter final, I think. And then last season, of course, we beat Fraserburgh 5-0 in the very first game in the Scottish Cup. We beat Fraserburgh 5-0, and what happened after that. Dundee United are 8th in the SPFL Premiership, where we were after our last draw with Falkirk, as I mentioned earlier. They were 4th last season, United, but because of Dundee United, Scottish Cup winners in 1994, remember that, and 2010, won the league in 1982-83, they got to the UEFA Cup final in 1987, European Cup semi-final 83-84, won 3 straight League Cups, 70-90, 81 inclusive, because it's Dundee United, who are one of the bigger clubs in Scottish football. They certainly have been for the last 40 years or so. We forget that they're essentially, under Jim Goodwin, they're essentially a season ahead of Falkirk and a season behind Dundee in this whole thing of you win the championship, you come into the SPFL Premiership, you finish top 6 in your first season back in the top flight, everything's going great. Following season you're struggling, and I hope they can, not just because I don't really, we've had a wee bit of a fallout with Dundee United since 2012ish, so there's a bit of tension there, not our favourite team anymore. Great old team, used to love going to Tannadice and that, but it's sad the stuff that happened in 2012. But it's not just because of that I want them to continue to do badly and make sure this is a bad season for them. It's just it would help us beat them tomorrow night, because I've taken points off us already this season. Who hasn't? They won the championship season before last, and last day of the season, they beat Aberdeen at home to get them into Europe. They finished in 4th place, secured it right at the death, and that put them into the second qualifying round of the Conference League. This is we went into the second qualifying round of the Champions League, and they beat I can't remember, some Luxembourg side, some Luxembourgeoise side, Luxembourgish side. Club. It wasn't Progress near Corn anyway. They beat them 1-0 at Tannadice and 1-0 in Luxembourg to go through to the third qualifying round, where they had a banging tie against a Rapid Vienna. They won. They drew 2 each in Vienna, and then they got them back to Tannadice. United were 2-0 up with I think 20 minutes to go or something. At some point in the second half, they were 2-0 up, 4-2 up in the tie on aggregate, and they get brought back to 2 each on the night. Went to penalties, and Rapid Vienna put them out, and there's no competition for them to fall back into under the Conference League. So that was United out of Europe. Their only League Cup game, they lost to Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. They're 7 points behind us, having also played 13 games in the league. They've only won 3 games this season, but in the league we've only won 5, so I'm not going to get too ahead of that. They drew with Kilmarnock at Rugby Park on Saturday, where we're going this Saturday. They've only had 1 win in the last 6 games. So Jim Goodwin under a bit of pressure, looking for a result. They lost 3-0 at home to Falkirk the weekend before last. So that means we should beat them 3-0, doesn't it? I don't like playing teams well below us in the league who've had 1 win in the last 5, who haven't had a win in the last 5 games. We're always, the pressure's off them. It's only a bonus they get in off Rangers, and they tend to be kind of up for it. My team for Wednesday night, Rangers starting team at Tannadice. I'm going to go with Liam Kelly in goals. You're going to have Leon King at right back. 2 centre halves are going to be Ben Davis and Emmy Fernandez. We'll get DUJON Sterling in to left back. Chifu Cifuentes, Ecuadorian. We're going to have him as one of the sitting 2 in midfield alongside Lyle Cameron. Right wing, going to have Ross McCausland. Paul Incio, I think we'll have Paul Incio sitting at 10, Oscar Cortes on the left-hand side, and up front on his own. I'm going 4-2-3-1 here. It's going to be Josh Gentles or Mason Munn. It's kind of wraithed and firm. I think we Fife Derby, they can bat out to see. I know Mason Munn's a goal, but if you can keep them out, he also knows how to put them in the net, Mason Munn. So we'll see between Josh Gentles and Mason Munn. I'm only joking because I'm a character. No, but seriously, what am I like? You never know what I'm going to say next now, but seriously. Oscar Cortes, a recall of Oscar Cortes remains it's become a serious possibility according to rumours and some Asturias-based, that's the area in Asturias in which Gijon is El Molinón, the big mill. It's actually the oldest, I don't know if it's the oldest stadium or the oldest pitch. I'm talking about Rangers not having moved since the 30th of December 1899. I think it's no far behind that. There's not much later than that Sporting Gijon built the stadium where the stadium is just now. It's famous. It's all through San Sebastian. It's in Thelwell's Morbo, great book, Morbo, about Spanish football. And I've been lucky enough to, I had a week in Bilbao, and I did a wee day trip to San Sebastian. They were dancing in the streets of Sociedad. And there's a picture of the El Molinón, the old El Molinón, when it's 1981, and that's where Real Sociedad won the league for the first time. They secured the title with a last-minute goal. Jesus Zamora, and there's these. It's the photograph behind it, the old terracing, the old El Molinón. It's 1981. It's mobbed, and it's all umbrellas. It's raining like anything, but it's all umbrellas. blue and white, a beautiful strip. It's a beautiful strip. Real, so she had the blue and white stripes with the blue shorts and that against Sporting Gijon in their red and white stripes. And it's in the piss and rain. I've seen the YouTube footage of it. It's intense stuff. But that's what I always think about when I think of Sporting Gijon. But we've got Oscar Cortes there. Apparently he's not getting a game, not getting a regular game, and they're in the second tier of the Spanish league system, are Sporting Gijon. And I think there's a Rangers review today. They're talking about the fact, well, he can't play for a third club. Rangers, I think the loan deal's not working out. They need to move him somewhere else. So he's going to get a game. Why move him somewhere else? Yeah, he scored, or he played against Alloa and Motherwell for the early part of the season. He played for us against Alloa in the League Cup, as I said. We won that game 4-2. That's not maybe sniffed it. Rangers these days scored 4 goals, and the draw at Motherwell. Folk weren't happy at the time, first day of the season, but that's actually turned out to be a better result the way Motherwell and ourselves have been playing all season. So I don't know, maybe we should get Oscar back. We're struggling, get everybody back. You know, that's what I said. Bring on all the other guys that are out on loan. You know what I was doing there. Imagination, creativity doesn't always work. Recall them all. DUJON Sterling. Now's the time. Return of the Duj. He has to come back. Like he always does, like Ryan Jack and Kamal refuse to come back instantly on it, instantly himself, ready to tell the dressing room and the press that it's shit if we're shit, and playing in a way that always earns him the right to do that. Remember that story about John Collins as Hibs manager, how he came into the dressing room in his first day as manager in front of all the players and he stripped all his clothes off and said, right, this is what you've got to look like. You've got to be ripped like me if you want to play top level football. Your body's a tempo. I want to see you all as handsome and ripped as I am. Well, behold Asgard, Antman, Chermiti, Aarons, Rothwell, Magoma. Behold what an average Rangers player looks like. Aye. He'd be a god in this squad, DUJON, but Duj is what a bang average Rangers player under Walter Smith would be like. He's injured all the time because he wants to fucking win all the time because he bleeds blue or orange. And I'm talking about the orange of Tangerine of Blackpool. Whatever bleeding shirt he wears, he has no off button. A bit like myself on these podcasts, it's already out of sync, isn't it? Because they always run over. I'm always talking too much. I'm always giving it too much, letting the videos go out of sync and then doing so much admin on the video afterwards and breaking it up, time stamping it and that, and doing wee shots from it, and then spending so much time talking to all the totally proper Rangers folk and fans of other clubs who are nice, like a chat about the solid football fans in the comment sections. That I'm running out of time to do the next pod more than 5 minutes before kick-off in the next game, but I do it anyway, even though it makes folks switch off and unsubscribe, even though it injures the pod, because I just bloody love it and I can do nothing else, and I don't bloody want to do anything else either. I don't know what DUJON Sterling's like at podcasting. He'd be a fuck's sight better than me for sure, but I am bloody shite at playing football, so I'll get out of his way and he gets out of mine, and we can both do what we're born to do. And if you're going out in that pitch in our jersey thinking, oh, it'd be good if I played well today, I hope everything goes all right today, I hope we manage to win, you're in the ring team, if not entirely the ring business. You don't think, you just feel, and all you feel is that you have to be in that pitch and you have to be winning, and you as the team, and you can't help giving it everything, and you don't give a shit how pretty or easy it feels or looks, because if you keep giving it everything, it'll always look pretty enough and you'll never want it to feel easy, so you just keep going until the manager or injury takes you off the pitch like DUJON bloody Sterling does. Watch and learn, watch and be ashamed. Gordon Petrich, Derek McInnes, Uhu Ehiog, aye, whatever you want, boss. Just give me directions. Just give me that shirt. Give me directions to the pitch and tell me where the wall is that you want me to run through. He'll probably start DUJON Sterling on the bench. Danny Röhl, him and Ciala were on the bench on Sunday, so ready to be bled back in. I think this time the defence is going to get rotated a bit. I was thinking he's going to get the same starting the number one attackers back, because Sunday obviously didn't work. He's going to rotate that completely and have like Gassama starting and all that, and maybe even Big Chermiti if he's fit to play. The lineup we had up front, if you like, against Braga would come back to start at Tannadice, and he'd maybe rotate the defence, which didn't get rotated on Sunday, but he's saying in the presser today he doesn't intend to do that. So I don't think we can afford to drop Tav. I really don't think we can afford to do our captain, our inspiration, our top scorer. But he's looking a bit, unsurprisingly, for his age and for what he's having to constantly lead the way and introduce new players to new head coaches, and just he's looking unsurprisingly jaded, to the point that I don't know if we can afford not to give him a break. He's jaded, yet he scored first home goal in the Europa League the other night. I know it was a penalty, but he's some man to have. But I don't know if he's getting to the point where he's just needing a rest. But Big Giga largely did okay on Sunday, and he can't be too knackered, Nasser, because he's not been playing that often of late. Emmy Fernandez looks good, but to be honest, I think we should go 3 at the back again. 3 centre halves, so we can afford to give Tav a rest. That's what we'd have to do. To give Tav a rest, we'd have to go 3 centre halves. Jack Butland, I wouldn't be surprised if Liam Kelly ends up in goals, although Jack Butland, good presser post match on Sunday. I don't think he's going to rotate the defence at all from what he was saying in today's press conference, Danny Röhl, but I'm going to say Fernandez, Sterling and Giga. We're going to bring in, the dude just coming back, he's starting, we're going to get him in there at the centre half alongside Fernandez and Giga. So we can get Max Aarons on it right back this time, Jaden Magoma starting at left back. We're going to have Raskin and Barron as a sitting two. If this is in my head, I've decided that we're dropping Tav for Tannadice. But that means we can't afford to drop Raskin, who will be seen as a leader, despite him having a very average season. He will get dropped for Rugby Park, Raskin, and Tav will come back in for Rugby Park. That's what I'm thinking. Bajrami, he's going to start on the right-hand side this time after his little cameo performance. The best kind of attacking threat we had on Sunday once he eventually got into the game. Bajrami, Gassama on the left-hand side, so he can do his thing of coming into the left-hand side and curling it in with his right foot. What doesn't he work for the other side? He kind of do the same thing with his left, as he demonstrated in that second half on Sunday. And if Chermiti is fit, I think Chermiti will start. If Chermiti is over his little illness. Big Giga did a wee but because we're still recovering from, we didn't recover from the equaliser that he gave away for Braga in that Europa League game on Thursday, but he looked like he was having a mental breakdown on the park, and he comes out on Sunday against Falkirk, and he's in the first half he's doing a wee step over. So it's like, that's a testament to Danny Röhl, how he gets players turned around. He can get under their skin and make them feel great about themselves, performing to their best. He was dilly-dallying on the ball, say, when we had that incident that Jack Butland kind of smacks the ball off a player, looked like we're going to concede a goal. It was a bit ramshackle in defence, but he got the foul anyway. But he's far from perfect. But I think I would have DUJON Sterling coming back in the morning to him to get babysat as much as him to do the babysitting of Fernandez and Giga, because his lack of match fitness, DUJON Sterling. But I mean, he Duj back just to show him what it's all about. The score prediction, I think. So my team to reiterate that it's going to be Butland in goals, back three of Fernandez, Sterling and Giga. You then get Aarons at right back, Magoma at left back, Nico Raskin and Connor Barron as the sitting two. It's essentially a 4-3-3 that gets back to a 5-2-3 if we're under pressure. And your front three is Bajrami on the right-hand side, Chermiti in the middle, and Gassama on the... Majovski's probably going to end up playing up front. I don't know if Chermiti's going to be fit enough. And Gassama on the right-hand side. The score, I think we're going to lose this one 2-0, troops. This is the nadir. This is the bottoming out. We need a point where we just all get totally miserable about everything and we're heading towards it. Might as well do it now, and then we could just build it back up from there. This is where Danny Röhl properly takes over in the face of this little bit of total adversity. So you don't have it hanging over you all the time when you go into games against Hearts and Celtic. When are you going to get this first league defeat? Have it tomorrow night on the back of a draw with Falkirk. We can get all the disaster mongering going on, and then we'll start building it all back up. Or we're winning 4-0, and Dundee United just completely can't live with us because they get the backlash of what happened on Sunday, the backlash that we took from the supporters on Sunday. The team take it out in Dundee United at Tannadice, enjoying being away from Ibrox. And also tomorrow night or Wednesday night, Kilmarnock and Dundee both went away at the homes of the two other clubs that won the title in the 1960s, outside ourselves and Celtic. And that'll have us all wishing we hadn't slagged the team rotten on Sunday, or the head coach. Well done, Jack Butland. His first post-match pressure on Sunday. He get the right balance of kind of responsible, accountable, and not taking the hysteria too seriously. And saying, as I felt myself, there wasn't a lack of effort on Sunday. The players are taking on so much change. So much change they've got to take on board. They haven't got the sharpness, the creativity, the imagination has been a bit stifled just now by everything going on off the park. Jack Butland believes in the manager, and it's about the players, making Danny Röhl's plans into action on the pitch. He said it's a difficult place to respond to difficult moments. Talking about Ibrox, quite pointed and quite bloody right as well. Jack, he needs Gijon and Fernandez, and he believes in the two of them. A title race, it's there. It can be done. We can get ourselves back into the title race. We can win this league this season, saying Jack. It's on all of us, not just the attacking players, he was saying, because obviously the media were wanting to slag, as I have been doing for this whole pod, the lack of attacking intensity and creativity on Sunday. He said the defence has got to set up. They've got to get the players the confidence to be able to relax when they're playing up front, to do something more creative. But he did think it was their fault. You could tell he did think it was their fault. He just was trying to find a diplomatic way to say it wasn't. He believes there is enough creativity in the squad. You just got to do more to exhibit it as a team. It's a team thing, he says. Help them get the shackles off the creative players. Keep encouraging them to go and be themselves. It's probably been more settled in their national teams than it has been at Rangers. You're playing international football, and it's more settled when you play for your national team like 3 times a season than it is the team you're playing for twice a week. That's true. Don't start slagging Danny Röhl. Lay off him. It's context, please. Context. Not everybody that watches this pod does it. I know you guys like Danny Röhl. He reminds me of Jeremy Davis, the actor Jeremy Davis. Real name Jeremy Boring. Jeremy Boring. I didn't realise this because I'm thinking, who is it? He reminds me of. He reminds me of somebody, and he doesn't. Jeremy Davis has got a very kind of irritating acting style. Which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's very, kind of nervous, and he's doing it stuttering and just always a bit off. He's a bit dissonant, a bit off the beat because he's a bit wacky. I mean, he's played like Charles Manson and stuff like that. I know him best probably as Snow, the character Snow in Solaris. The Steven Soderbergh version, obviously, is Lush. I don't think I've watched the Tarkovsky version. I think I've got it somewhere. I think I've got it upstairs. Someone in my past bought it for me a long, long time ago, and I never quite let it go. I think I've got it up in the loft, actually. I've never watched it, though. But the original film, if you like, is a Polish fella that wrote the book. I always think it's Isaac Asimov, but isn't it? Some Polish fella. Danny Röhl, I realised it's this actor Jeremy Davis. He's shot to fame in Spanking the Monkey, which is a great and independent film. Spanking the Monkey is just, I don't know if you can get it on Prime or whatever. You haven't seen it, you can probably get it on YouTube these days. It's hilarious, it's clatty, and it's brilliant. You should watch that. That's where he came to prominence in that film. But his real name's Jeremy Boring. There's one your stage name's Jeremy Davis. How boring is that? No, Boring's my real name. It should actually be that his stage name, his screen name. It's much more kind of, it's like Rip Torn. It's going to get folks' attention. But in Solaris, it's great. The Soderbergh version is, of course, it's totally lush to look at, and it's a great way into the whole Solaris world. But the planet, it holds their imaginations. The people that are up in the space station, their imaginations have been, the Snow included, Jeremy Davis. He doesn't, demeanour-wise, in terms of he doesn't have the same tics and nervousness and anything like that Jeremy Davis does as an actor. That's his acting shtick. Danny Röhl, but he just looks like him physically. He does look like him, quite skinny and dark-haired. But Solaris, the planet, it holds their imaginations, Snow's included, it holds their imaginations hostage in a way Danny Röhl doesn't want our players' imaginations abused. On Sunday, post-match, he talked about their ability to scan the whole picture. His attacking players they need to scan the whole picture. That was just a lovely phrase you're never going to get from someone whose first language is English. He wants them to be more direct and quicker when they get a chance to put through a teammate or to go through and goal themselves. There's just a bit of nervousness, kind of stage fright, whatever. So they're taking a lot on board. So the squad updates today. We got in the managers, or the head coach's pre-match presser. Youssef Jarmiti is ill and he's being assessed, so we'll find out if he can make it. DUJON Sterling is in the squad as he was on Sunday. Joe Rothwell was back in the squad. He's been injured apparently a little. No one noticed. Ant-Man, Oliver Ant-Man, out for 8 weeks minimum. Abductor, apparently. So nobody really cares about that either, I'm afraid. Mikey Moore is not ready, but he's recovering well. The way he was talking today, Danny Röhl, it sounded like Mikey Moore could be ready for next week, perhaps the Ferencváros game, perhaps Hibs on the Monday, but it's not going to be United or Rugby Park. And then it was just everybody's just trying to get him to see, all the press, the assembled press are just trying to get him to say, you're going to have a massive clear out in January, aren't you? Who you want? And they just kept asking him about January, and he tries to bring it back and make it, not as, more kind of nebulous, not as specific. He doesn't want to give, because he's got a bunch of players who essentially half of them are going to leave, are not going to get a game again if he gets the players he wants in January. So it's a difficult political situation when he's trying to get as much as possible out of this team just now. He's going to gives players the feedback about Sunday. How do you sort them out? How do you get the best out of this squad just now? I'll give them feedback about Sunday, why it didn't go right. But we're coming together, we're learning. I'm teaching them about their body shape, how to receive the ball, etc. All these little details that will help them get their attacking mojo back. He's constantly talking about what skill sets he needs and whichever players we bring in with Andrew Kavanagh. He's meeting Andrew Kavanagh all the time. He's talking to him all the time. Obviously, he's going to help Andrew Kavanagh. It's getting a bit. There was a line today. It's a kind of Philip Clement-esque patter about him having greater involvement in the absence of Thelwell and Stewart. It's Danny Röhl. I'm like, here we go again. But he wants players with the right mindset. They get natural aggressivity against the ball. I love this. I think Clement said aggressivity as well, didn't he? Instead of aggression. Listen to me, who can speak no French or German. But they want natural aggressivity against the ball. The players that he wants to bring in, they need to understand what it means to play for Rangers. I need to know which players can handle the environment, so he gets it. He gets that players need to be DUJON Sterling of head. You're just up for it. You just want it. You want this pressure. The same way Emmy Fernandez, he said that in his presser. I enjoy the pressure. I thought, that's why you're doing all right. I like pressure. I like pushing myself. Which players can handle this environment? That's who he's going to be getting in. Players like that. Diomande and Nasser will go to AFCON with Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, respectively. That's going to be late in December. Diomande, again, not a big miss. I don't think he's not having a good season at all. And he gets himself sent off so often that eventually we're never going to see him anyway. We have to improve our direction, how we play. This is the manager I'm quoting. Danny Röhl, I'm quoting how we play, but it's about players who have what it takes, that's basically to win at Ibrox, and helping those who haven't won at Ibrox yet. Kept getting asked, what do you want to bring in January? What kind of player? You got any names, basically? He's going to start getting asked about names, I would say, in the middle of December. He's got about another week probably before they start asking him for actual names. But very German stuff about him trying to remove the emotion from the players to get them to focus on finding solutions. Is it mural or mirror? He keeps saying this thing about I need to be a mural for my players. Maybe it's mirror. The way he conducts himself, he keeps calm despite all the stuff that's going on. But we need to concentrate on what needs done overall while also managing the results. So it's both short term and long term. We need to find a way to manage both. He's asked about Lyle Cameron. Why is he not getting a game these days? Basically the same pattern as we heard about Finlay Curtis last week. He's just obviously Conor Barron gets a game a lot, but he doesn't seem to be fancying the Scottish talent much. Daniel, he says, I got him some. He's got some minutes, and he has to be ready to kind of carpe his diem, Lyle Cameron, when the next injury happens to a starter. There's a lot of traffic used that phrase. There's been a lot of traffic. The club needing a restart, and he has to keep calm and focused for his players while basically all this hullabaloo is going on. We can close the gap to the top by consistently taking points. He was in no way worried. He's worried obviously about dropping 2 points on Sunday. It wasn't a good result, but I think he feels that he was talking about how many points he's picked up, the stats I was giving you at the beginning of the pod here, if you can remember that far back, and how that proves he can just do that again, keep picking up that number of points. 13 points out of 15, 13 points out of 15, keep doing that and they'll probably go back up to the top of the league. So he needs to get the balance right on his incomings and outgoings. Just because we sell 6 players in January, don't be expecting them to get 6 in. He's basically saying it's all about quality versus quantity. like as far as I'm concerned, some players always at Rangers. Some players take 6 months. Every football team, some players will take 6 months to settle in. Some players will take a whole season. Calvin Bassey, that absolute bomb scare his first season at Rangers, and then he became just the greatest defender I've ever seen in my life. The following season, like, dragging us to a European final. But so some take 6 months, some take a season, and some are never going to make it. Some will just never settle in at Rangers. But we just signed too many players in that bracket in the all at the one time in the summer in the last transfer windows. At Tannadice, we can see if we can do we can do a bit more bleeding for the jerseys, if they can get a bit more out of these ones that we've got just now. A bit more bleeding for the maybe like kind of Solaris now, they're bleeding kind of like blue. It's blue blood, and they bleed blue for Rangers, but it's, I mean, like Walter Smith. He started his career. He played for Dundee United. He only played for Dumbarton. Played briefly for Dumbarton, but he went back to United after that as a player again. Like his coaching there, he made his debut. Walter Smith, as senior football league debut for United in the 60s in a 4-0 loss at Rugby Park. And his last game in charge of Rangers, his last game properly involved in Scottish football, was a 4-goal win at Rugby Park. No one won the league there in the last day. Won 5-1 against Killie, 2010. 11, we won 9 in a row at Tannadice. So there's a kind of magic going on there. Maybe there'll be a flicker of the floodlights tomorrow night, and some of the lights in the concourses just go off just briefly, and everybody's like, "Way, Tannadice, what a dump," and all that, and just. But it's the kind of Solaris type, the magic that's been cast by all these, kind of coincidences and overlapping and underlapping personalities between Dundee United and Rangers. And we're going to Kilmarnock, we're going to Rugby Park again on Saturday, and it's no the real players, past and present, or dead, alive, all like Richard Gough starts. Richard Gough's abilities are suddenly transferred after that wee flicker of the lights into Nasser Giga. Emmy Fernandez becomes Davy Weir. Just gets suddenly he's playing like Davy Weir. Max Aarons is like, I don't know, Eric Caldo. He's like Sandy Jardine, and Magoma can become Eric Caldo. Eric Caldo could play either. Good fullbacks can play either fullback position. But John Brown, Conor Barron becomes John Brown, and John Gregg, Nico Raskin takes on. What a sitting midfield that is, eh? They two sitting in midfield. That'd be absolutely brilliant. And Brian Laudrup goes into the boat of like Bajrami or Asgard. David Cooper becomes Asgard. Chermiti becomes Mark Haitley. Danilo becomes Ali McCoist. It's just a bit imagination, creativity. Just thinking up things that could possibly. Sometimes you can have too much imagination. If you've enjoyed this pod, folks, then you've got far more imagination and creativity than myself. Thanks so much for sticking with it. If you've got to this point, I'm just saying, Richard. I'm just saying to them. Hey, Goughie, I'm just saying to them, if they're enjoying this pod, they've got more imagination than I better stop. I'll see you after the game tomorrow, troops.